SavedBoujeeVegetarian. It's your girl Keisha Nicole. I just want to say thank you guys for sticking with me, coming back. You could have left, you could have done whatever you wanted to do, right? So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, because it is. I just want to say it ain't easy. This journey is not easy, right? It's not easy whatsoever. But I just want to say, when God is in the mix, God is going to do some rebranding. God is going to do some redirection of some things, right? And so that's where I'm at in my life, right? I thought that this channel was going to be towards uplifting, and it is still going to be towards uplifting, right? Doing some reviews. I'm still going to do the reviews when felt led, right? But what God has shown me is that this channel is going to be geared towards trauma, right? And the name he gave me for it was Traumatized, right? So this series, this continuation of series, is going to be Traumatized, right? So what God downloaded into me was that we all have experienced some level type of trauma, right? Whether it's emotional, whether it's physical, right? But here's the thing, sometimes that when we're in our trauma, right, we feel like we're the only ones, right? We feel like no one understands what we're going through. And trust me, I understand that, because I was one of those individuals that thought, like, no one understands what I'm going through. Like, God, why the heck do you have me going through this? Like, this does not make any sense. I should not be crying. I should not have went through all that childhood trauma, God, to get me to where I am today. What is the purpose of this, right? But then God showed me that every little thing, nothing will be wasted, right? Every little thing of my life, he is going to use for his glory, right? Because he has a purpose for everything, right? So what I failed to realize was, in that moment, was that I was trying to figure it out. But God, y'all, when I let go and I allow God to do what he does best, and that is be God, because Keisha is not God, right? I might try to figure some things out, but listen, I will always be back at square one, and square one is back on my knees asking God for some redirection, because baby, I don't know what I'm doing right now, so God redirected me, right? And so that's what God did. God redirected me, and like I said, this series is going to be Traumatized. That's what it's going to be called, Traumatized. And it's going to just be a continuation, because we all have experienced some type of trauma. And I understand, like I said, that sometimes we get in our own minds and we think that we're alone, and that's not it, right? What God showed me was that in scripture, that he allowed he allowed Eve to come from Adam's side, right? Allow her to come from his rib, right? So therefore, we're never supposed to do this life alone. We're supposed to do it together, right? And that's one of the things God gave me, was that we were not created to do life alone. We were meant and created to do it together, right? So come along with me and trust me, it's gonna be a ride. It might get bumpy, because we're gonna talk about some things that we know you like to keep in the back of your mind, or you push in a little Pandora's box and you don't want nobody to open it up. And that's where I was. At a point in my life, I pushed everything down. I compacted it. I did not want to talk about it. But you know how God is. He allow you to keep thinking that you're doing all fine and dandy, until boom, that's when the floodgates of heaven open, and it's time to deal with what you needed to deal with, right? But it's always on God's timing, right? And so that's where I was at in my life. I was finally able to deal with the childhood trauma. I was finally to make sense of what I was going through and how it spilled over into my adulthood, right? But I thank God for that, because if I had not experienced that trauma, I wouldn't be here today. I would not be here sitting today talking about being traumatized, right? We all, like I said, have experienced some level of trauma, where it's emotional, where it's physical, where it's spiritual. Like, we all have experienced some trauma, but are you willing to talk about that trauma? Are you willing to get past trauma to being healed, right? Because I'm on the other side of trauma, and that is being healed. From traumatized to being healed, right? Do you want to get to that other side of being traumatized to being healed? So that's totally up to you. But here's the thing, this channel, we're going to talk about some things that no one wants to talk about, because the way I grew up, it was, baby, whatever happened in this house, you don't talk about it. We ain't going outside to talk about it. Nope. We're going to fix it up in this house, right? But no, that's not how God created us to be. Yes. Talk with your family. But guess what? There's other people out there. There are other professionals that are meant to help you. And kudos to them, hats off to them, right? Because I'm one of those individuals, a mental health therapist, right? That is what I am getting my degree in. So I thank God for that, because it was because of the trauma I realized that is where I thrive at. That is where I understand. That is where I'm able to relate. And I thank God, but it was not easy. It was not easy. So again, thank you for being with me on this journey, and this journey of what this new channel is going to be about. It's about trauma, being traumatized, right? In the Black community, we feel like we have to be strong. Baby, no, God didn't make you to be strong. Yes, he did. To be physically and mentally strong, yes, he gave us those attributes, but guess what? He also gave us the mind to allow us to hand our burdens over to him, right? Yes, we need the support. He's allowed us to have that as a support system, but what are you going to do? Are you going to keep it all together inside and say, I got it together, I got this? Nobody's going to understand. Well, that's totally false, because that's a lie from the enemy, because the enemy wants you to seclude yourself. The enemy wants you to go into hide. The enemy wants you to isolate, right? And that's not the purpose of this life. The purpose of this life is that we're supposed to be disciples of Christ, and also that we're supposed to gather other people around us and also to point them to Christ, right? So we're supposed to band together as Christians, as God's children, to help others along the way. So here's my question to you. Are you willing to go from being traumatized to being healed, or you just want to be set in trauma? Like, do you want to stay in your trauma, or do you want to be healed from it? The choice is yours. I'm just asking you some questions. All right, guys, be blessed. Until next time.